Welcome to another episode of Ambassador Solutions Expert Corner. My name is Krista Sellery, and I'm sitting here today with Brad Lindeman, President and CEO of Ambassador Solutions, as well as Dr. Dan Snively, who's a leadership advisor and the founder of the Lions Lead Incorporated. Now, I've asked Brad and Dan to come here today to speak with me a little bit about their recent partnership. They've come together to form a new service offering that we're offering at Ambassador Solutions called Organizational Transformation. So Brad, Dan, if you wouldn't mind helping me understand why you formed this partnership.
Sure, thanks Krista. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Our partnership started actually when Ambassador Solutions became a client of the Lions Lead about 5 years ago. We've been a client ever since then, as a matter of fact. And I have to say that the value that we have gotten from Dr. Snively's Leadership Development Council, that emanates, by the way, from a very unique assessment tool that we'll talk more about in a second, has been absolutely invaluable to us in terms of growing our leadership team, growing our business, and improving the quality of our overall leadership.
That as he and others in Ambassador engage with their clients, that even though they're focusing on software solutions, pretty quickly they've discovered that as they engage with various clients, that the need for leadership or the lack of it has actually been obstructive, creates challenges for doing the solutions.
Well, Brad and Dr. Snively, I've heard you both refer to there being a crisis of leadership in our country. Can you talk to me a little bit about what you mean by this?
Leadership at its core really has to do with character. The leader's character, kind of who the leader is, he or she at their core. What I mean by that is that there's a real connection and understanding about their values, their beliefs, and their goals. And that they construct that as part of themselves, and from that core they lead. That is getting more cloudy all the time. I think another dimension of it is that not very many leaders know how to lead. One of the things that I say often to leaders is that there are a lot of people in leadership positions. The problem is we don't find very many leaders in leadership positions. So as companies require organizations' leadership to actually lead, it's not very common that they are led well.
An extraordinary leader spends 40% of his or her time mentoring other leaders. 40%, right?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Proactively mentoring other leaders. So with that in mind, in a larger organization, we would endeavor to impart the knowledge and skills about the instruments and the interpretation thereof to their own people, teaching the leaders to lead themselves. That's when this thing really takes wings.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I always thought that people were born as, a natural born leader. Now, would you say that that's the case? And if so, if people are naturally wired to be a leader or not, then how can any sort of tool or consulting service really help?
Let me take that if I may, from a client perspective,
Sure.
because 5 years ago I believed that to be the case as well. And so an investment in the kind of services that we're talking about here was kind of questionable in my mind, quite frankly, and I had to experience it to believe it. Leaders are not born, they are made, yes, some by virtue of their natural personalities, by virtue of their upbringing, may be more positively disposed towards good leadership style. Yet to be extraordinary is very, very hard work. And what excites me the most about what we do here in our organizational transformation practice now is we identify the gaps in leadership behavior and then take prescriptive measures towards filling those gaps. You really can, anybody, correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, but anybody can become a better leader,
Absolutely.
no matter how good or bad they might be today.
I know you've created a very valuable tool, the 7 Pillars Assessment. Would you mind talking to me a little bit about that?
What I've heard from industrial psychologists, clinical psychologists, people who practice in this field, is that they've never seen anything like it. To me, that's encouraging to hear.
Right.
But what I hear most often from is high-level executive leaders in the Fortune 500 world who have gone through as many as 12 to 15 professional programs in their career, paid much, much more money than you're going to ever pay for the 7 Pillars, and say in all of their history, they've never gone through anything like this that has revealed to them their strengths and deficits and what to do about it, and the powerful combinations that they weren't aware of. That's what they say.
What the pillars and the signature leaders instruments allow us to do now together is to relatively quickly understand where a person is really coming from. It's like living 2 years with someone in a matter of a couple of weeks. I know that sounds a bit crazy, and I was skeptical at first myself, but I'm telling you, the instrument is incredibly accurate as a predictive behavioral index. And now with 5 years of experience and dozens of people in our own company that we've put through this, with good and bad and all experiences in between, I can tell you that we've never gotten a false read from one of these instruments.
Well, it certainly sounds like leadership consulting services are a very valuable tool and a very valuable service, but I know that it would come at a price. So help me understand, can you see a return on this sort of investment? And if so, what could you expect?
And I can tell you from my own firm, it was not an insignificant investment for us when we first got together with Dan 5 years ago. But 5 years later, I can report that there's few investments we've made that have had, well, not few, there are none, that have had a better return than what our time and money that we spent with Dan Snively have been.
It seems that there's a leadership coach or an executive coach on every corner these days. And I'd like to hear from you. What would you say distinguishes you from the rest?
A lot of good meaning folks out there that are coaching, and they're doing a pretty good job. What I've discovered, though, is that a great coach has to also have led at high levels. A CEO, when I or others that I work with sit down with CEOs of firms, they can read you like a book, and they can read you in a hurry. Do you have battle scars like I do? Have you been in crises like I have been? And to be able to actually connect with them and to build a trust, because it is a trust relationship. Almost all of our engagements are working with executive teams or with teams at some level within the organization. The very same realization. So there are several of us in this room. Every one of us brings strengths and deficits, weaknesses to the table, and we reveal those in how we lead. Likewise, if we were a team, we would bring those strengths and weaknesses, and now as a team, we have strengths and weaknesses. And so we use the 7 pillars or the signature leaders, which reveal strengths and weaknesses. Okay, for you to get better, you need to work on this and this and this. And there are processes that we use to do that.
Well, thank you, Brad and Dan. I think I've probably taken up enough of your time today, but I do appreciate you coming out and speaking with me about this. It certainly sounds like organizational transformation is a great service that would benefit a lot of companies.